Our most significant opportunity is our most significant challenge in that we have a really unique structure as an organization. So we are a multi-site organization, non-affiliate, non-franchise. So all of our locations, all of our 15 locations and 3,500 kids engaged in the program are under one umbrella. And so that's a extremely efficient and impactful model where we have consistent program operations, consistent high quality curriculum delivery, and we're able to leverage systems quite effectively to increase the impact that we have in each of the communities where we operate.
Are you looking for ways to shorten your marketing learning curve and help your organization survive and thrive? Welcome to Relish This, the Purpose Marketing Podcast, a show for purpose-focused leaders who want to use marketing techniques to fuel their organization's growth. If you're a returning listener and you haven't subscribed already, we'd love to have you. Also, please consider leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Now here's your host, author and marketing specialist, Stu Swineford.
Hey, Relish This podcast listeners. My guest today is Seth Ehrlich, and he is the executive director of SOS Outreach, which is this really cool program that brings kids into the mountains, teaches them to ski, gives them access to a mentor who helps with their kind of training and leadership growth. They take kids through this program from fourth grade on through high school and beyond to really help them become great leaders and give them opportunities that they may not have had otherwise. It's a really cool organization. I hope you check it out. This show was super fantastic. Obviously, as a mountain man myself, I'm fully engaged with organizations that are doing this kind of work and bringing people into the outdoors and letting them, have these experiences at an early age. We chatted a lot about just the program itself, how it's structured, some of the things that they've had challenges with in the past, how to create relationships with all of your stakeholders. It's a really, fun, informative conversation. I hope you enjoy it. Here we go. Good afternoon, Seth. How are you today?
I am great. How about yourself?
I'm doing really well. It's a beautiful day up here in the Nederland, Colorado area. We got a little bit of snow earlier. We're recording this in kind of mid-October, and it started to think about snowing, but now it's sunny out again. So,
well, I'll tell you, it's winter's definitely right around the corner, and I love this time of year. Leaves are still orange for some of the aspens, and yet you're seeing the snow start to fall, and resorts are talking about opening. So this is an exciting time of year for me.
Yeah, for sure. I know A-Basin opened earlier this week or last week, and I think I heard maybe Keystone or Loveland or somebody is going to follow very closely behind. We certainly have had a little bit of snow, but it's mostly gone at this point. Hoping some fresh is around the corner.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then the resorts will start opening like dominoes.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll be in business. So SOS Outreach, you do a ton of stuff for kids out in the outdoors, including a lot of winter sports stuff. Tell the audience and me a little bit more about what you guys have going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Seth Ehrlich, Executive Director of SOS Outreach, and I have worked at the organization and been fortunate to call this my professional home for about 15 years now. And in that time have really engaged in some significant growth and development for the organization. So we are a 28-year-old organization founded on Vail Mountain in 1993. And core highlight of SOS is that we use the power of individual recreation, particularly skiing and snowboarding, to build strong relationships between adults and kids, strong mentoring relationships. And then we engage service to the community and leadership development to really set kids up to thrive long-term in their lives. And it's all about that power of the outdoors to change the trajectory of youth facing challenges in their lives.
Oh, that's just great. And you said you were founded on Vail Mountain. That's a beautiful place to ski. Who are the types of kids that you work with typically?
Absolutely. So we are, SOS is currently 3,500 kids who we engage across 15 locations. And so we have programs from Seattle to Detroit, and largest centers of operation are in Colorado, Utah, and Lake Tahoe. So the destination ski communities, ski and snowboard communities. But the kids who we work with, we work very closely with youth agencies and schools. So partner organizations in each of the communities where we are. They're the organizations who know the kids. They're the organizations who have an ongoing relationship with them. And so we work with them and train our teachers and our counselors on the impact of SOS, the progression of our curriculum, and then they identify the kids who this can really benefit from. Most notably, a lot of our kids are the ones who are excluded from the community, and they do not have a community that they naturally fall into. And those are the kids who are really attracted to SOS and who benefit the most from it. Particularly in mountain communities, we see a lot of English as a second language, low-income participants, children of color, first generation in the U.S. These are the kids who are excluded from what is the mountains, and they're excluded from being a part of what is the mountain community. And they really stand to benefit the most.
Yeah, for sure. How do those programs work in areas that aren't located near mountains? I'm guessing Detroit is a little less inclined to have mountains nearby.
It is less inclined, and it operates very similarly. So Detroit, there's a resort, Mount Brighton, about an hour, 45 minutes outside of the city. And so it's the same opportunity. It's different for the experience in that we're working with the same kids. We partner with the same schools and agencies. What's different about a Detroit or a Chicago or a Seattle is that a lot of the kids don't even know that this is out there. So in the mountain communities, it's very clear. A lot of their parents or connections or friends are working in the resort industry. They also physically see it. They look outside their school building in a lot of cases, and they're going to see the mountains. They're going to see the hills, and they know that this is not something for them. That's been brought to their attention time and time again. And so they have an affinity to it or have an awareness to it. In the cities, it's the same thing, though, same target for kids, same opportunity of how to break down the barriers that are real and perceived for kids to get into these sports and into these activities so that they can build those strong relationships with each other and with adults. But it's different because they didn't even know that Mount Brighton is 45 minutes from where they are in downtown Detroit. They didn't know that Wilmot or Afton is just outside of Chicago or Minneapolis, or that Summit at Snoqualmie is just outside of Seattle. I mean, it's just not even in their worldview of knowing that this is an opportunity for them. Wow,
that's amazing. So you mentioned that you partner with some other organizations to kind of identify kids. Or what are some of the organizations that you and SOS Outreach partner with to get people into your programs?
Yeah, absolutely. In the mountain communities, we work with school districts most specifically. So we'll work with Eagle County school districts in the Vail Valley, or Summit County school districts in Summit County, Utah, or Summit County, Colorado, where Breckenridge and Keystone and Loveland and Copper and A Basin are. In the cities, we're working more with youth agencies. So this is Big Brothers Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Clubs are two of the largest partners who we engage with. And the reasoning, the impact is the same. It's just different partner who we're working with. And the reason for that is our ability in mountain communities. The school districts are smaller. And so we really can have one relationship and engage all of the schools in Summit County, Colorado, all the schools in Eagle County, Colorado. When you get into a city school district, Chicago Public Schools, Denver Public Schools, I mean, even at scale of a lot of kids going, it's still a pretty small program in the grand scheme of what a Chicago Public Schools would be looking at for a program partner across the entire district. So we've really found a niche of how do we identify those more geolocated, the sites working in one or two communities where we can build that really strong long-term relationship with the agency and also with the kids involved, because that's where our curriculum thrives.
Oh, that's great. So tell me a little bit more about the curriculum and the program itself. There's a mentor component to it.
Correct.
Which sounds, similar to Big Brothers, Big Sisters. Tell us all a little bit more about how it works.
Yeah. The primary target for SOS is that we start in 4th grade. And that program is an introduction to skiing and snowboarding through professional lessons and everything that kids need to participate. They're going to get 5 days on mountain. And it's also an introduction to core values and values-based learning. Core to everything that SOS does are our 6 core values of courage, discipline, integrity, wisdom, compassion, and humility. And those 6 core values touch all of what we do. So we start in that year 1 program. It's building the community of kids who do not have it, building their connection into the mountains through professional instruction, and then building their connection to a values-based learning experience. Then years 2 through 5, so that's 5th grade through 8th grade, our mentor program comes into play. So the kids are 4 kids to 1 adult mentor. So it's a group-based mentoring model.
Okay.
They're getting at least a 10-day pass product, if not a season pass. They own their equipment, so they get to take it home. And they're going to do 1 day a month on mountain as a mentor group with targeted conversation about goal setting and where they're going. And then also 1 day a month off mountain with progressive service and leadership experiences as they work through and as they age from 5th through 6th through 7th through 8th grade. Examples of those, in 5th and 6th grade, they do more group-based service projects. So bell ringing for the Salvation Army, food pantry, food drives for the local food banks.
Okay.
When they get into 7th grade, so year 4 of the program, year 3 of the mentor program, they're actually identifying a community issue. And whatever that issue is that's important to them, they're creating a project to address that issue. And for us, we just facilitate the conversation. It really is about them finding agency in their lives and taking a leadership role and saying, oh, wow, I actually can have an impact and can create change where I live. When we get into 8th grade, so year 5 of the program, kids, it really is a deep dive into different styles of leadership and different leadership skills that they can develop within themselves to step into leadership roles across their lives. When they graduate from that part of the program and get into high school, 9th through 12th grade, that's where they start to demonstrate those skills that they achieved through the previous 5 years as junior mentors. So they actually are paired alongside an adult mentor. So it's 1 junior mentor, 1 adult mentor, 1 group of 4 kids, and they are co-implementing the curriculum alongside that adult mentor. So it really is this progressive program that takes kids from learning values, learning community, to engaging in community and having agency, to developing life skills, to then implementing those skills as you go through high school.
Oh, that's great. And then does the program kind of wrap up after high school, or are there ongoing? I mean, obviously people could become mentors after they've been through the program, but is there college level kind of continued mentorship that's going on?
Stu, great question. So particularly over the past year and through COVID, we dove deep into the impact of the organization and our opportunities. And over the past year, we've created an alumni network. And so we now have an alumni network. So this is anybody who is above high school, who graduated from our programs, is eligible to be a part of this network. And we are stepping into a space of supporting our kids and engaging with them into career opportunities. So how can we plug them into careers through our connections through the industry? And this incorporates internships. This incorporates very targeted career-focused conversations that we're providing for them, connection with our donors, with our board members and others. So we've stepped into a new space and are expanding this reach of our programs in an official way. Because prior to this and prior to the creation of the alumni network, there'd be 5 or 10 kids who would call me at different life decisions that they had.
Right.
And that would happen with every previous team member of the organization or current team member. Well, that worked, but it also undervalued the opportunities that we can bring.
Right. Right. That's incredible. I mean, you, over the course of the 25 years, I'm just looking at some of the stats on your site. I mean, there have been a huge number of kids that you've engaged, including, and then mentors as well, and just bringing on volunteers to help with the program. So you really have a whole host of different kind of people that you have to get the word out to, not only school districts and perhaps partner agencies, but, the kids and then all of the volunteers and mentors in the program as well. Have you found systems that have worked really well for you that get that message out there?
No, we have not.
Okay.
You're absolutely right. And this is what we're now backing into. Our success to date has been in the local level in the community. I mean, it really is skiing and snowboarding and individual recreation. it's such a powerful place to connect. And our success has been in that mostly in-person connection and the community that gets formed around the sports and the real genuine connection that gets fostered by it. What we're developing and what we're strengthening is how to then connect. And this is where the alumni network is a part of it. But it's also, how are we communicating to the broader audience? How are we communicating to the communities where we call home and are working? And then there's also the larger communication to the industry. So we're developing this. We certainly have a lot of lessons and a lot more work to do. Sure.
What seems to be the biggest challenge? Is it, I'm sure there are plenty as with any nonprofit, that there's always a lot of different things that are opportunities, but also, maybe getting in your way. Is it a money issue? What's the biggest challenge you face on a kind of day-to-day basis?
Our most significant opportunity is our most significant challenge in that we have a really unique structure as an organization. So we are a multi-site organization, non-affiliate, non-franchise. So all of our locations, all of our 15 locations and 3,500 kids engaged in the program are under one umbrella. And so that's a extremely efficient and impactful model where we have consistent program operations, consistent high quality curriculum delivery, and we're able to leverage systems quite effectively to increase the impact that we have in each of the communities where we operate. The challenge that's associated with that model is that we're not local, and this is quite rare in the nonprofit community. Even the national organizations operate with a franchise focus. So the local organization or the local representative of the national effort is a local franchise that has a local board and a local executive director and local communications and engagement. Well, our local engagement is our program team. That's who we have in our communities, and high impact, high partnership value. We're engaging with the mountain resorts in an effective way and using the power of mountains to change the trajectory of kids' lives. And there's a presence that we don't have because of our structure in that local community that we need to overcome. And that's what we're working on.
Gotcha. So you have your mentor base and perhaps a few people in each kind of area, but not that infrastructure that takes care of all of the outreach and organization and all of that stuff. That sounds like that may be kind of tackled remotely.
Correct. Well, it's tackled centrally, and that is, that's what's been our success, because it's one point of contact. It's for mountain resorts or otherwise across multiple locations, or for in-kind donations of jackets, pants, goggles, gloves, hat. All of that can be managed through one call. It's also leveraging one system. We just have one chief fundraiser, and we're able to bring one national program director who's overseeing all of the sites in our curriculum. Also, we're able to leverage higher quality evaluation and fidelity metrics in place because we're able to leverage that across all of our sites.
Right.
And in the nonprofit community, it's quite rare to operate in multiple sites. Very often, the nonprofit community it's very engaged deeply in the community. And we are absolutely within our programs. We're not within that storytelling and not within that larger engagement as effectively as we could be.
Right. So there's certainly a potential opportunity gap there with that being embedded kind of in those communities where there's more of a kind of a local feel to it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's particularly when I reflect on the scale of impact that we have in the communities where we operate. When we have hundreds of kids in a mentoring program in a community, and so there's a big potential for us to be sharing that story, getting more people excited and involved who are not just directly involved in the organization, in the programming. That audience is easy for us to engage. It's how to then engage that next level of audience who would be excited about what we're doing, who would be advocates for the organization. And that's a difficult thing to do when we're engaged across 15 locations, and I Absolutely. I mean, I 100% believe in it because of the high impact, high efficiency of our model.
Mm-hmm.
It's navigating through this unique channel in organization structure. And this is the area of challenge that we have.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's sort of some expectations in terms of how most nonprofits work, that they do tend to have such a local focus, or at least a local presence, that people kind of are perhaps a little uncertain as to how to engage with you guys, given that you have this centralized system that you've established. It's kind of an interesting conundrum. My guess is that you've been navigating this for quite some time, so you probably have some things figured out. And in fact, the challenges that a lot of nonprofits faced in the last couple of years with the pandemic, my guess is that you've had systems in place that was just your standard operating kind of mode. Is that accurate?
Well, it's accurate that this has been our operating mode. And we do have systems in place, and we're strengthening those systems. I mean, part of that system, a big transition that we made over the past 12 months is geographically diversifying the location of our central team. And so having representatives of our central team strategically placed in locations has helped. Also, geographically diversifying our board of directors. And so looking at, we can engage this differently. And it really is up to us as to how we target and address this question. But to your point of the expectation, you're absolutely right. This is what we face because, for a lot of our grant applications or otherwise, it is the executive director who's responding to these when organizations are reviewing peer grant applications in communities. And we need to recognize that that's a difficult thing to do when we're managing across 15 communities for me to be at all of those.
Sure.
And so how can we do that with a diversified national team? And then also how can we do that with board of directors to provide that support? So it took some out of the box thinking and say, okay, we can't physically do it that way, but there are other ways that we can approach this. And it really recognizes the strength of the organization to engage across all of these communities. And let's put that to work for us.
Yeah. It sounds like having a really strong board has been a kind of a key component of that program, in that you can leverage those local board kind of relationships to kind of plant you in these remote locations.
Oh, 100%.
Cool.
And also how the board plant is a great analogy in that it's also just having someone in that community and in the community who is thinking about us. So when they see an article in the paper or when they see an opportunity, they're the ones who can help connect the dots that we may not be able to see from a central location. We may not be able to see every daily newspaper that happens to identify an opportunity for the organization to have a program partnership or to engage in a new collaborative that's going on.
Yeah.
That really would benefit and impact our participants. And so having those eyes and ears has helped us significantly.
Yeah, that's amazing work, actually, to have that infrastructure set up that way. I mean, I grew up in Gunnison, Crested Butte's kind of our local ski area. And I can't imagine that you're reading the Gunnison Country Times every week when it comes out to really get an understanding of what's going on over there. And being able to have people kind of embedded in that community from a board perspective to just have kind of eyes in that zone that's a really interesting way to handle that particular challenge.
And it's a work in progress. We're still developing it. We're still engaging with it. I mean, it's taking a lot more centralization and focus, and being open in the conversations has been incredibly powerful.
Yeah, it feels like there's opportunity here, and I'm sure you have some elements in play with kind of where we call our inspire phase of audience engagement, where essentially you have people who have participated in the program either as a volunteer, a board member, youth participant, and just making sure that you have a cadence and a plan for keeping them in the fold so that they become, not only you can escalate their engagement, but also have them kind of evangelize for the organization. Do you have systems in place to kind of take advantage of that?
Yeah, well, and that's this alumni network that we created has been a core identification of that. Here we had all of these youth who were engaged in the program, and the program is focused on how we can support them in their transition to first career.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are focused in that impact. The residual of it, though, is that a lot of our participants have a strong affinity for the program, had strong engagement, and there wasn't an ongoing communication with them. So they lost touch. And then you reconnect with them and they say, oh my gosh, this was an incredibly impactful program for me. And they weren't even empowered to be able to share that story because it was something that they did, not that they are still a part of.
Right.
And so transitioning that, we are hiring more of our alumni back into positions within the organization.
Okay.
We're targeting mentor recruitment of our alumni. You know, we're more successful. We have been more successful on adults because they get moved onto our newsletter list and they become social media contacts of ours and otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. We had a big opportunity within our participants, and this alumni network is a key way to address that perspective that you shared.
Yeah, it sounds like a great opportunity for you to just continue the work and then also, you know, leverage these people who've had such a positive experience to just to expand that mission. So you also work with some pretty large kind of corporate sponsors. How did those relationships develop, and what have you found to be successful when trying to reach out to kind of these larger corporate donors?
So let's see. The relationships developed, I mean, in the same way that our programs developed and in the same way that we have continued to grow the organization, in that, I mean, it really is powerful and it's a very natural relationship that develops. I mean, our partnerships with outdoor industry brands and mountain resorts develop because of the unique structure of SOS and the impact of our programs. And we really provide such a direct connection for them in that what they do well. So whether that's produce a jacket or turn a chairlift, we provide a really direct connection where they can do what they do well, partner with SOS to deliver that. And as a result of that, a participant graduates from high school who wouldn't have been on that track necessarily and gets involved in the community and has a direct impact. And so that's been part of our success within the corporate engagement that we've had, is that it really overlays in a powerful way versus, you know, organizations selling lift tickets, so to speak, to then make a donation. I mean, we're really working with them in their space that they're already in, and we overlay within that partnership so effectively. And so these relationships have really developed organically, and a number of organizations have grown with us. I mean, most notably Vail Resorts. We started on Vail Mountain in 1993 and brought our first kids up to the mountain in 1995. And from the start, we've now expanded to multiple regions with Vail Resorts, engaging thousands of kids on their mountains. But the same is true with many of our other partners who have started with us and who have grown with us because of the impact that they've seen and the opportunity that they've seen. In terms of outreach to new partners and additional engagement, so much of that has developed more in the past 5 to 10 years as we've had a greater handle and understanding of the long-term impact of our program. You know, for us to demonstrate that we're not just the values-based learn to ski and ride program, but really as SOS 10 years ago developed into this long-term model, and we have stamped the SOS way in that 4th through 12th grade curriculum, that has enabled us to partner with organizations based on the impact that we're having.
That's great. So you've been able to demonstrate the success rates and the all of that, and people just see this as a really great program that they want to be a part of. That's some really good organic growth, which tends to be, super healthy. And it's great to see how you have partnered with people that are really well aligned with everything that you're doing. There tends to be a challenge at times with organizations kind of chasing money and, bringing on kind of a corporate engagement that's not as aligned as it could be. So it's really cool to see how you've, organically grown that program as well as, managed to keep it kind of real, I guess would be a good way to phrase that.
Yeah. I mean, and we've been very fortunate because of the corporate engagement is core to the delivery of our mission.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been since day one. And that's a unique structure in the nonprofit space. So often corporate engagement is sponsorship of an event, or it's a cash contribution back to the organization.
Mm-hmm.
We're partnering with 25 mountain resorts for lift tickets and rental equipment and instruction to deliver our program. We're partnering with outdoor industry brands to ensure that all of our kids are warm and dry, and we recycle that gear. So it goes out on a Saturday, it'll go back out on a Wednesday, and we are moving gear from the Midwest to the Pacific Northwest as season changes and based on schedule. But we're really intentionally and meaningfully engaged with the industry in a powerful way. And all of that work, it is the outdoors that fosters the strong sense of community and enables us to engage our curriculum so that our kids are on a different trajectory.
Yeah, that's great. I love the economy of that in terms of really making sure that you're getting the absolute most out of those donations as well. I'm sure that helps with those conversations when you're approaching, partners, just to let them know that you're kind of squeezing every ounce of juice out of that engagement.
Absolutely. When I finally learned what a logistics company does 5 years ago, a game changer for us.
I can imagine.
Because it is. One of our growing pains was that we would have gear in a storage unit or a closet or someone's basement, and it would just be used for one group of kids. Well, that's incredibly challenging.
Yeah.
And how can we leverage it? Because it's all about looking at this, and this is where the benefit of the national model that we offer, this is what we bring to the table, where we're able to really maximize the engagement of our partners to impact.
Right. No, that's fantastic. Are you doing things in shoulder seasons and in the summers as well? What's the program look like not during ski season?
Absolutely. So our program is a school year based program, is the core program that we offer.
Okay.
And so once kids get into year 2 and above, it stretches out through the whole school year for that mentor relationship. So we're recruiting and registering in September. Our first program days and first service days are in October, and their meet and greets with their mentor. So we're really working from September through May in year 2 and above. Clearly in year 1, where it's just the on-mountain experience, the values-based on-mountain experience, that would be in November, December, January, February, March.
Right.
Some sessions in April. So the engagement stretches out so that we're really stretching out and maximizing the opportunity that we have to create impact and deliver our curriculum. In the summertime, this is where we're focused on not broad scale engaging all of our participants in the program.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of great summer organizations out there, and there are a lot of great summer programs. So we'll partner with them, and we will have opportunities for our kids to go on backpacking trips or indoor climbing programs. It just depends on the community where we operate.
Mm-hmm.
Our goal is to identify engagement opportunities so that SOS stays front of mind to our agencies and to our participants during that summertime. And so we'll identify opportunities in partnership with organizations who are already doing the work in communities. We're bringing them a great group, already engaged, already a community created around it, and really it's a great partnership opportunity.
Oh, that sounds great. I'm excited to hear that it continues during the non-snow portion of the year, and that you guys are staying top of mind. That's something that we also see is a challenge with nonprofits, is really making sure that they're able to, to keep in contact, have mechanisms by which they're constantly reaching out and letting people know what's going on with the program and having something kind of happening. So it's great to hear that you've managed to kind of expand that throughout the year. Mm-hmm. During the course of your 25 years, what are some of the things that you've seen happen that you weren't expecting, that you were able to overcome through either, dips in donations during, tough economic years, or, things like that? I'm sure you've weathered some of those storms, but what's been effective?
What's been effective for us, through 08, 09, through the past year, year and a half now, what's been most effective to us is leaning even further into the recipe that is SOS. And that is a combination between this in-kind partnership with mountain resorts and providers. And so securing those resources, which then enables us to fundraise really for the curriculum and the impact. So we're not fundraising to buy lift tickets or to buy a jacket. We're fundraising to be able to deliver our curriculum, to deliver our leadership development, our service learning projects, and otherwise. And that has helped us significantly in those challenging years to demonstrate the direct impact of dollars to the impact that we're having on youth and in our communities. And particularly with the participants who we engage, our participants are the first to be impacted. Mm-hmm. And they need, when we're facing these challenges in fundraising or otherwise, and the economic challenges, the more significant issue is that the youth who were engaging and their families they were hit first, and they were far more significantly impacted.
Right.
And it's our role, it's been my role in those spaces to engage with our partners as deeply as possible to understand that now more than ever, we can't step back from our commitment to these kids.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been interesting. I'm on the board of a couple of different nonprofits, and then I've also had many of these kinds of conversations over the course of the last year with nonprofit leaders like you. And there doesn't seem to be a standard trend. I know I've spoken with a couple of people who are in the outdoor kind of nonprofit space. And one of the trends that they saw were some of these corporate partners really stepping up in terms of their engagement and their involvement, where some of the smaller partners weren't able to contribute as much as they would have liked, or even perhaps at all. A lot of the larger donors made up the gaps. And then in some other, and again, this is all kind of, not scientific here at all, just a couple of different observations, but the larger donations from individual donors tended to drop, but the number of individual donors went way up. So people were still wanting to engage and still want to engage and be part of a nonprofit success. It seems like it's just an interesting challenge, kind of working both ends of that. We're trying to build up individual donors, smaller donations, but more of them, and while continuing to kind of lean on some of those corporate sponsors, like some of the great people that you have in your plan that have had, decent years because people are flocking to the outdoors. It's been really interesting to see that. Have you seen one trend or another over at SOS Outreach?
I was just processing through what you said, because it is, this is the nonprofit juggling act.
Yeah.
And it is there is not an answer, and anybody who says we have the silver bullet to
right.
fund development or to fundraising, and we're going to come in and tell you exactly how to do it. It doesn't exist. It really does come down to, and what I've seen and where we have had success is the more clarity that we have had on the impact that we're making and the importance of our programs in the community, the more success that we have had in engaging meaningfully with our partners. And that's what anybody is looking for, is to feel a part of something.
Yeah.
And whether that's a corporate partner, whether that's a program partner, a Boys and Girls Club or a school district, whether that's an individual donor who's giving $10 or $10,000.
Right.
How do you foster that sense of belonging and engagement? And it's what we do really powerfully through our programs. And the more that we have thought about this within our supporters, the greater success we have had, particularly through challenging times. We have ensured that we're not just looking transactionally, and this is a big focus for me that I charge our team with, is that we're not developing transactional relationships. We are developing true relationships with people being engaged in our programs and being engaged in supporting the organization. And that has been the success for us. That's what we found is our secret. And it works, and it recognizes that there's shifts.
Yeah.
Some people give more, some people give less. Sometimes you see differences. However, it works.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was on another podcast as a guest earlier today, and one of the things that we did talk about was kind of marketing as relationship building, and how important it is to create authentic relationships with all of your constituents. And if that means just reaching out to people and, asking them how they're doing, and just being truly, compassionate and concerned about their well-being, and compassion being one of your core values over there at SOS Outreach, that's the stuff that kind of pays off in the long term, because you're really establishing a system of caring as opposed to just trying to, get something from somebody. And I know that outreach, particularly coming from an executive director, just picking a few people to reach out to on a regular basis, regardless of the size of their contribution to your organization, can be an incredibly powerful thing as just a relationship building component of what you do. And then getting really good at sharing those stories. I think that people have a real challenge. I'm actually looking at your core values again. Humility is in there, right? And it feels braggy sometimes, but when nonprofits can get good at sharing those successes and being okay with that, that's what brings people want to be part of something that's working and helping others. And so really figuring out how to tell those stories is a great thing to do.
Two things. One is, on the storytelling, this is where that challenge we discussed earlier for the organization is. There is so much happening across each of our communities. Mm-hmm. That just makes my head spin in such an amazing way. Kids who had never seen stars before until they got up and outside of Chicago and got to the mountain to see it. Mentors who are being called by kids to write a letter of reference for them to be the first in their family to go to college in Tahoe. Just amazing stories that happen. And so how do we bring this forward? Because we're telling this across all of these communities, mm-hmm. and also the impacts are really local. And we've had to work very closely in aligning our content and aligning our storytelling, but also how do we capture the individual, because each of these individual stories should be celebrated. Mm-hmm. And they are so core to who SOS is. So we're still working through that. The other side of it is on the relationship side. And this is, for me personally, I have one of the best jobs in the world, and I just get to engage with incredible people who are dedicated, compassionate, and committed in such a powerful way. And I get to work with them on how do we expand the mission of SOS further.
Right. Yeah. I love when I get to talk to people who love what they do. And it's one of the things that I celebrate on a daily basis is I truly love what I'm doing. And I guess I can share this story a little bit. One of the reasons we really enjoy working with nonprofits over here at Relish Studio, which is the company I'm a co-founder of, is because we're helping people make the world a better place in some kind of small capacity. Even, we're helping maintain a website that helps further a mission. And one of the illustrations of this was I was working for Wish for Wheels, which is a local nonprofit here in the Denver area. I think they're Colorado based. And I think that their impact is currently here in the state. And it was Memorial Day weekend, and it was beautiful outside, and it was like 2:00 in the afternoon. And we had, kind of a deadline that we were working on for them because they had a big push coming up. And I recognized that I was not upset about doing this. And so that was like this, like, oh, neat. I've kind of found this niche. And so really, I would say, and I'm sure that your mentors help kids kind of suss through this a little bit as well, as, really truly finding something that's your calling and that gives you that kind of joy just to show up every day is such an important piece. And it's really cool to hear that you have that in your life, as well as are bringing that hopefully to your participants as well.
Oh yeah, I am incredibly fortunate, and I have found my calling, and I love it, and I get to travel to amazing places, and again work with just some of the most inspiring people who push me every day to improve and to strengthen my own personal outreach, and then also the organizations to increase our impact.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What's next for SOS Outreach? Are you trying to expand to more locations? Are you trying to just be able to reach more kids? I'm sure that's always part of the mission. What are the kind of the biggest things on your 5-year plan?
The focus for us is how do we is continuing to increase the depth of our programs in the locations where we are. And so this is really focused on expanding the mentor program in our existing locations and expanding the number of kids who are involved in our existing locations so that we can expand the reach of SOS. That it goes along with growth of our alumni network. And so we are really targeted on increasing the number of alumni actively involved in the program. And then third tier of this and increasing impact is in increasing career development pipeline. So we launched an internship program, a career development program in Denver this summer with 5 kids who started with a 2-week classroom-based experience that we led, curriculum on job skills that they were not picking up otherwise. And then they went into 5-week paid placements with our partners. And so our focus is to expand that to additional locations where we operate so that there's more of a direct connection for our high school and early post-high school kids into careers. And we're a part of that runway.
Yeah, that sounds great. How are you developing those relationships with potential internship opportunities? And is it, kind of aligned with your partnership outreach?
It is. It absolutely is aligned with our partnership outreach. Yeah, we absolutely are aligned with our partnership outreach.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's the coolest thing. I mean, we already have the partners that are there, and this is just the next generation of that relationship.
Right.
It really is. It's a natural progression. Here they are investing in the organization, and this provides an opportunity for them to take the next stage of that investment by, again, what they already do. They hire people and they have positions, and how can we be one of those individuals, or our participants be one of those individuals who they're then hiring?
Well, and they're invested in this program, so they you would hope feel pretty strongly about the benefits that you're bringing to these lives and these individuals, who are going to be better long-term leaders in their organizations, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. For people who are seeking out this kind of opportunity, either for their kids or as a mentor, what are the outreach components? I mean, the kids obviously get contact through the schools and then some of these other programs that they may be involved in. Where do mentors find out about you typically?
Most significant mentor recruitment is existing mentors and volunteers.
Okay.
The people who are already with us are the ones who know the program, and they recruit their friends or contacts to get involved in the organization. So first stage is there. Then, I mean, again, particularly in the communities where we operate, we offer something quite unique. So by being able to push it out, whether that's through human resources departments or through more general postings in local publications, the dailies that exist in mountain communities or electronically in urban communities, to be able to highlight, well, you can mentor through something you're passionate about. It's been a pretty easy sell for us to date.
Yeah.
Here you like to ski and snowboard, and you can go ski and snowboard with kids in a powerful mentoring way. We're going to provide you with the guided conversation. We're going to train you. Mm-hmm. We're going to make this as effective as possible so that you can really step into it and be successful. It's been a pretty easy engagement point for us.
Yeah, that's great. Inspiring your current crew to kind of just spread that word, and clearly they're having a good experience. So they're sharing that with their friends who, that's just such a natural build in that kind of inspire phase of engagement. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you're pretty consistently asking those mentors and people who are engaged to share their experiences with their friends and family.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're not kidding whatsoever. Because we are, our first recruitment tool when we do have program expansion is through our existing network. And that's our existing program graduates. Mm-hmm. So marketing to them, they know the program better than anyone. And if they're in a position to re-engage as a mentor, it's incredible. And we have grown that percentage of mentors who are program graduates, and we're focused on that moving forward. But then also we are going to let our existing mentors know, hey, we'd love to have you, we're growing this, the impact, help us to reach these numbers because the kids who are involved would benefit from it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a natural ask. And it's great to hear that you're doing that. There are a number of people out there who feel nervous about that ask, but it's just such a kind of a no-brainer that it's good to hear you engaging in those activities. So I'm just fascinated by your program. I think it's amazing. I love, as you might imagine, I'm a big snow sports guy. I'm a big outdoors guy living up here in the Netherlands area. So it's really great to hear how you're helping provide some positive impacts to kids and even mentors who are, who could benefit from that. I think that there's a lot that comes from being a mentor that you may not be kind of focusing on here with your program. I mean, the kids are the kind of the heroes in this, or in that they're the ones who are going through it and growing and learning and getting this great experience. But, I've found that when I can help teach someone something, that it helps me grow as a person as well. So you're certainly impacting those individuals also. So it's great to see how you have this kind of influence on people's lives, particularly in the outdoor space. I'm really excited to hear how things go as you expand the program. I love that you're spending some time building out the alumni program. That's fantastic. And then expanding it into, more career focused stuff after graduation from high school. That's great. Where can people find out more about what you guys are doing and get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. SOSOutreach.org is the best place to go. That's where, you can link to our social channels. You can see about the alumni network and also about our programs, but then also see opportunities to get involved, whether volunteering, mentoring, contributing, and as you were talking, Stu, it just hit me, in as we're wrapping up here, just the power of really taking the time to listen and then to act on what you're hearing. And that's been core to SOS from day one. Our model didn't start out in this defined 4th grade through 12th grade progressive model, really focused on the outcomes that we saw. I mean, it started out just with Introduction to the Mountain. And we heard from the kids, hey, what's next? And we co-created this curriculum with the kids to respond to what they were looking for. And more than anything, they were really looking for a continued community in the outdoors that was accelerating their personal skills. And that's what we responded to them with. And it's the same thing as you talk about with mentors or with donors or with volunteers. I mean, that's what's been so special about SOS and what I just love as we've worked through it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm excited to hear more about it as things continue to move on and you grow into your next 25 years. And, you know, one of the things I love having these conversations and talking with people who are passionate about what they're doing, who are bringing kids into the outdoors. I think that's that's how we're going to help try and fix some of the challenges that we're experiencing these days, is getting people out there and enjoying it and allowing them to share their experiences with others. You know, so it's fun to talk about that stuff, but I also really want people to take action. And so when people have heard our show today, what would you like for them to do in terms of taking action?
I would love for them to follow us on social media and as a minimum to get involved and to really stand in our corner for the impact and saying that you believe in the opportunities that exist for our participants to grow in 5. And then take the next step. If you overlay within one of our communities, engage with our local program team as to how you can get involved through something that you're passionate about. And if it's not through SOS, if it's not in one of our communities, I mean, really reflect on what are some opportunities to engage through your passion, because there are so many different ways that you can do this with organizations in the communities where you are. And if you're able to engage with your passion, it's amazing how natural the connections are and how much further it takes your involvement and how much further you open up new opportunities that you wouldn't have otherwise if you just got involved with the organization more out of obligation.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's something that, you know, everyone can apply to their lives, is just find something that you're passionate about and then give back a little bit in that zone. I love it. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Seth. It was super great hearing more about SOS Outreach and hearing, you know, what you've accomplished over the last, 25 years total and your tenure there as executive director. And I really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you. Great to connect with you, Stu.
Have a great day.
All right, you too.
And there you have it, another great episode of Relish This. Thanks again for listening. You can find past episodes of the show at relishthis.org. And remember, if you liked what you heard today, please subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. For more information on purpose marketing, grab your free copy of my book, Mission Uncomfortable: How Nonprofits Can Embrace Purpose-Driven Marketing to Survive and Thrive. Get your copy now at missionuncomfortablebook.com.